Hey guys, this is Matt, and here we are for the Creative Pod, and these are just the few thoughts that have been going through my mind. So I quit my job a few months ago, and I've been doing this full time. I've been doing other video work, and it's just been something that's been expanding, and I kind of want to go over with you and also myself, because verbalizing things, it really helps out. But I just want to go over the options that are coming up here as we go into June. We are already here June 4th, and we are here at the best time, I would say, to be in New York City. This is a time when everybody kind of wants to be collaborative, to communicate with one another, and for me, it's the best time to make content. I love being outside. I know not a lot of people like the 80 degrees or 90 degrees or even 100 degrees, but you know, if you're outside and if you're okay getting to places and looking like maybe like a puddle of sweat mess kind of look, then you're fine. I usually keep things light, like I walk around, I have the bike, I kind of get around easy if I need to go to a meeting and not look like soaking in sweat. But one thing is, it's how the podcast kind of has been started, is I've been walking around the city and just kind of soaking in the sights, soaking in just the New York City vibe. And I've really enjoyed it because it's kind of like stopped me and it's reminded me how I originally came to the city. And I know the reason why I do the Creative Pod here is so I can go on these many tangents. And I just want to preface that sometimes these tangents won't go anywhere, sometimes we won't come back, because I mean, back in the 90s when everybody was diagnosed with this, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and it's just something that I guess has stuck with me, but I've kind of like learned and I've embraced it, and it's just a part of me now. But at least in my train of thought, if you know me, that kind of train of thought gets lost and it goes to different places, because no matter what I'm looking at, I kind of just want to focus on that. But yeah, going into this, things have been going pretty well, and I'm talking with a few companies and a few event spaces, let's call them, here in New York City, to do more social media work, to do more promotion. And it's become like one of these, like, my dreams are coming true, but it's like almost like that. So if you have ever kind of thought about maybe quitting a 9-to-5, where for me it was being GM to some boutique stores here in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and it was like a consistent pay, and it allowed me to afford rent and afford to pay the other bills, but it was unsatisfactory in a multitude of ways. But if you've ever thought of that and been like, hey, I want to do freelance, I want to do something else, I think the one main thing that I've been telling my friends, and I want to tell you guys, is you should really kind of begin your platform, begin the idea, and kind of have like a solid baseline, so that you can maybe one day use that as a springboard to do these other things. And for me, that's been creative reviews. Creative reviews is something that I've stuck with as a hobby for, I think it's been like 12 years now. I even did it back when I was in Virginia. And it's been great because it allows me to showcase my love for my materialistic love of things. It used to be, a while back, it was cars and cameras and other like kind of tech. I'm like really big into tech and things that make your life more functional and make things easier in general. But I've really enjoyed it, but it allowed me to have kind of this social media platform where I was never like a huge content creator. I was never like an influencer, but it was always just kind of there in the background. And I think I remember, like, for a few months here and there, I just kind of wouldn't put out any videos because I was either focused on something else or the passion was kind of lost for a little bit. And it was something I was always able to come back to. But I remembered, because I live in New York City, and I really do see this as one of the best backdrops in the entire world, is I was just thinking, why don't I just try and do this full time? So I was kind of ramping things up, at the end of like my time at the 9 to 5, and I was trying to focus on this kind of content creation. I was thinking, what am I going to do that's actually just going to fill time? Because that's what it is. The real way to get this to be like a true freelance position and to make money off this is to create content, whatever the content is, and then have that kind of backed by advertisers and sponsors. And so if you've seen this video, all my videos, even like the Instagram content, not really TikTok, because strangely enough, TikTok banned me for no reason. It was like really strange. I've heard it happen to other people. I was like, what did you guys really do? But for me, it happened. I was just like, okay, so all that effort went to nothing. And I was like, all right, I guess I won't do my New York City content there anymore. But what I really found was I used to be big into photography. And that's why I even have this camera here. This is a Canon M6 Mark II, and I even used this lens here, the Sigma 16mm. And I thought, okay, photography and doing street fashion photography and working with like smaller brands and models is something that I really wanted to do, but I kind of like, it got away. The reason why I moved on from photography in general is after the pandemic, people wanted a different style of photography done. The stuff you may see on Instagram where it's like very clean cut, at least a few years ago, is like what this camera would kind of create. But my favorite, and it seems like, oh, actually, the companies and models that I was working with, they kind of wanted things to be filmed and shot in a way where it looked like they did it. So that meant really on their smartphone, on these kind of like smaller camera setups. It was something that they wanted to emulate as if they were doing it, and it was just them or a friend with them. And I remember doing things like that, and I didn't really release too much of that. I released the things that looked professional with this, but it's now that I will record little videos instead of the photography moments that I was doing before. And as a description, as a clear description for that, it's like I have my camera here, and in my imagine here that I wanted to take a shot of like a behind the scenes, and I just do one photo, I just do click, and that's it, and then I'd kind of move on. But what I remembered is it doesn't really capture the vibe. And I guess when you're outside in the city vibe, which is always there. Or in the background, you can even see that I have the TV on in the background, I have a fan on, and if I did a true behind the scenes, it would be a video clip. And it would just kind of get the vibe of, okay, here we're taking it here, and oh, we're moving this side so we can see what else is on the other side. And you'd be able to hear what I'm actually going through. Because right now, I have a microphone right here, and it kind of just, it works. And I hope I'm really not muffling this up with the shirt I'm wearing. But I've really found that having NYC as a backdrop, and instead of doing photographs of my favorite buildings and areas, I would instead do small clips. And these are great because what you can do is you can kind of compile them all together, or you can lease them, and you can kind of edit with them, you can splice, and you can do a lot of different things. But the very minimum, you can work with what Instagram Reels wants and what YouTube Shorts wants for this kind of short form content. And it really pays off because I'm literally, as I'm walking down the street, I'm taking video after video after video. Because of my ADHD, it's just like different things catch my eye. So what I do is I take these like 7-second clips and I just go with them. And usually they're kind of stationary clips, even though right now I'm kind of moving into like more cinematic shots or just moving shots, let's just say that. Because it's interesting, because I remember when I was taking photos, if somebody walked in front or was kind of just got in front of the shot, it didn't feel quite right. And I was like, oh, you're ruining the shot, you're there. But now that I'm taking videos, if somebody goes in front of the shot, that's That's the city vibe. That's the people who are there. That's the natural way to see things, not in this overly perfect, overly edited things like world that is like shared on Instagram and YouTube, which is something I really like. I do love the processed look in a lot of videos and photos, but it's not something that I want to release. First, I hate editing. But second, it's just the real world is imperfect. So I choose to release whatever the look of the camera is, whether it be like an iPhone camera, whether it be me using just like different lenses on these cameras, or I think one of my primary shooters is the DJI Pocket 3. It's just a really easy way, and by the way, not sponsored by any of these companies, but who knows, maybe one day. It really just works well to have something small in the pocket that's always with you, that's not always a smartphone, because that way you get different vibes depending on like where you are, what you're doing. And for most of these things, they're allowed in most event spaces, except for, let's say, Madison Square Garden, where they're pretty strict, and now I'm only bringing in my iPhone. Same with Brooklyn Mirage, they're very strict on that, so it kind of limits the look and feel of what I'm getting. But still, while I'm there, I think one of my most popular videos right now is me just in spur of the moment, and weird, it sounds weird to say this, but weird, spur of the moment recording of deadmau5's entire set. I just leaned the camera against a beer can and just recorded it, and just was really into the show, where all of a sudden my camera dies. I'm like, oh wow, it's been 3 hours, and I was just like there talking with people and having fun and just enjoying myself. But yeah, at least having the iPhone allowed me to capture this moment, and it felt great. But I guess going back to how you make money off this is affiliate links, sponsorships, featured products, and hopefully down the line for me, partnerships with companies, which I have a few, but more partnerships with companies that would kind of continually pay out every single month and be a little bit more solid and stable. Because having a freelance position where you're not directly working with companies all the time, you can't really get a lot out of, let's say, YouTube AdSense. You're not really going to get enough to pay your rent or pay bills, and you need a little bit extra. So going back to how you springboard yourself from a 9-to-5 onto something more freelance, like in content creation, you need to continually make content, release it at certain points throughout the week, consistently if you can, and really work with affiliates. Like, choose your favorite brand and work with them just over and over and over, and hopefully with the massive content that you create that is advertiser friendly, then you'll start pulling in people who are interested in the products that you are interested. For example, some of the affiliates that I work with are Ripple, and in this case, this one is sponsored, and I do love working with them, but now I'm working with different companies too, and it's gonna be just different sources of income, and it's just all right there under the videos that I've been making. But I really think that you have to have, and at least treat this video creation or photography, if you still want to do photography, as a hobby, but still stay consistent with it, so that when you're ready to leave your 9-to-5, you have your backbone to move on to. And it can be in anything. I am very sporadic, so it's like New York City vibe, cat videos, whatever, but it may be something different. For example, my friend does wellness content. She's getting her wellness certification in some sense, and she is just doing now one-on-ones with people, and she can release that as content if they allow her to, and that's great for her. But start by doing, let's say, free consultations, and then quit your job when you have amassed, I guess, a certain amount of students or affiliate partners. But it's definitely possible. It's something that I didn't know that was possible, but it's possible, and I'm very excited for this. Anyway, guys, if you have any comments, questions, or anything, more questions about this, put in the comment section below. Don't forget I'm on Instagram and Threads at M8B9, creative.ny, creative.reviews, and you can email me at creativenyc2024@gmail.com. but this camera's about to die, so thank you for watching. I will see you next time.